I'm indeed, yes, and we've got effectively two Sheffield residents here who have just been deep in conversation about what it's actually like living in the city in here and what have you. And AJ, obviously, just over it's 10 days to go now before the fight. It won't be long before you're making your way down to London and going to be out there at Wembley Stadium. It's been a long, hard camp again. Yeah. Just tell us what it's been like.
Been difficult, been tough. It's not just this camp, it's the last camp, the in-between. Tough sparring. We do a lot of rounds of sparring. I called it on, I asked for more rounds. I'll never do that again. You know, we've been sparring like the Turks, the Germans, Africans, English, all different countries, physicalities, mentalities. It's been good preparation. And but it's all got to pay off that one night. It's like all those, all the revision, all the studying, all the practice has to pay off on that one night.
You talk about development every time we speak to him. Johnny and I, we were talking earlier, we were noticing that your footwork seems to be getting lighter, you seem to be faster on your feet. What is it that's changing every time that you're going in for these big fights, would you say?
It depends who I'm studying as well, because I've learned that boxing is a sport that you can do well if you utilise what you have around you. You don't join a club where everything's given to you. You have to figure it out yourself to a certain extent. So I do my own research. I watch a lot of fighters, their footwork, how they get enough punches and so on. So I've been studying a lot of different fighters and stuff, and like little feints, getting my feet in position. You've got to set up a punch. You can't just throw a punch. Sometimes you can get caught on the way in, but if you set it up, you're more than likely to land it and get out of the way of the return. So footwork is just as important as your handwork. I remember Ben Whittaker, one of the fighters from here, he said his dad had him in the garden working solely on his footwork for months before he let him box. And little things like that, being around this setup, around other boxers, even though I'm world champion right now, I'm still learning from all these guys because they're really, really talented fighters. So I take in what they tell me as well.
Where would you put Povetkin amongst your other opponents? People say he could be a banana skin. I think that's a wrong thing to tag him with.
Like he could beat me?
Yeah.
It's heavyweight boxing. Anything's possible, but I highly doubt it. But where do I put him? After Klitschko.
Yeah.
Just after Klitschko, yeah. Because Klitschko was the last one to beat him, so he's talented, he's an Olympic gold medalist, he's fought for the world title. Well, then again, Parker is a world champion. Yeah, maybe number 3, top 3. I'll put him in my top 3.
Good shout.
It's a good shout. I mean, given the fact that the heavyweight landscape is changing so much at the moment, I mean, you talked about maybe changing your approach for this fight, maybe going back to the old AJ where we saw the big explosive punching. I mean, you proved to everybody in the Parker fight that you know how to box.
Yeah.
And I think you maybe wanted to prove a point there to some extent.
Course.
So are we going to see the more explosive AJ for this? Do you want to go and knock him out this time?
Because in that Parker fight, right, there's always that air around my name saying, he can fight, he's tough, he can bang, but he'll probably gas out after 9 rounds. Do you know what I mean? So naturally, as a young fighter coming through, you listen to all that nonsense. So you want to prove to the world.
Some of it comes from him.
Yeah. No. Do you know what? Even for that Parker fight, remember he's a champion as well. So there was a lot of talk around my name, his name. He's the fastest heavyweight in the division. He's fit, Samoan power. I'm like, whoa, I'm against like a real threat here. So I acknowledge that. I don't go into overconfidence. So I'm clever. I went the rounds and I proved that to myself. So not only can someone say to me, yeah, they know I can fight. I proved that when I beat Klitschko. I proved that with Dylan. I can go through the trenches. But now with the Parker fight, I proved I can box. I can sustain energy. I can go 12 rounds. Now with Povetkin, I feel like this time around, it's more about doing what I've been doing after 200 odd rounds in here against really talented sparring partners. And remember, Povetkin ain't getting out after 4 or 5 rounds. He's staying in there with me. So everything I've learned in there, I'm going to do in there because we've been trading some real heavy leather in these sparring sessions. So if I can do that with Povetkin in there, and if he stays in, all credit to him, because in sparring after 4 or 5 rounds, it gets real tough and physical. And I know that, as I said, that my sparring partners have the opportunity to get out after 5 rounds. He has to stay in there. So it's going to be real interesting to see how he survives.
And you were saying, weren't you, that the circumstances have changed a little bit now, haven't you? We've talked about AJ being this learning student and not the finished article and what have you, but now maybe he's a bit more established. He's got to feel like he's established himself a little bit more. It's like the stabilisers are off in some respects.
I think now you're the hunted. Where everything's done. You've been through every aspect. You've boxed, you've fought, you've been down, you've put people down. So the learning's over.
Yeah, and I learned that in sparring in this camp. People ain't coming to give me rounds no more. They're not coming to say, yeah, Josh, what do you want me to do? Throw a left hook? Nah, they're coming to take my head off because I'm the hunted now. Whether it's in sparring, whether it's from a media point of view, whether it's from a story, whether it's from battering me in the ring fight night, I've become the hunted and I'm well aware of that now. But it's maybe up my game as well. And this is the reality I live in.
You seem to take yourself out of especially in prepreration for this one. We usually see a lot of you on social media just documenting everything. To me, it tells me you've taken this more than serious. You know, you ain't playing no games. This media game, you're not playing like you want to get on with a job. Is that the case?
I do understand the power of media, and I love it because we're promoting our sport, the sport we love. But at the same time, you know, I can be a media guru, but I can get my ass beaten. So I've got to balance it out and focus, because without this, there is none of this. So this is what's important, and I've kept my head down. I've got good people around me that keep me grounded, and you know, I want to prove it to myself, but I want to prove it to my team as well, that I am listening, so that I'm not wasting their time, because they've invested so much time into me.
The bottom line is you can't look past Alexander Povetkin, can you? But
nah,
we can't help it, because obviously we get excited about the fights that you could have in the future. So you've got to deal with this professionally. You've got to deal with this right, because there could be even bigger and better things down the line for you in the future. Yeah,
it's tough. Like, I was looking at some of the old-time fighters in their 21st fight, their 20th fight, you know, they had learning fights. These guys had time to develop. Ever since I stepped foot in a boxing gym, from the amateurs, it's been at a high level, and I can't afford to make mistakes. I'm a fighter at heart, but now it's about showing that I'm an experienced fighter. So I'm going to go in there with Povetkin, mix it up, and the best man will walk out victorious and set up a big night, April 13th.
How long has it been? Has it been 10 years?
November 28th, 2008 is when I had my first fight. So
wow.
Yeah, it's coming up 10 years now.
Can you imagine if you picked this up when you was like 12, 13 years old?
I wouldn't be doing it. It's too hard.
That's what we all say.
10 years is just enough.
Just finally, too hard, Wembley Stadium. This is going to be the third time for you now, isn't it? Massive crowd again. How do you deal with that? But when there's that number of people in there all shouting for you, when there's that level of expectation as well that you're going to put on a show, how do you deal with that?
Oh man, I've done it differently each time. There's pressure each time, but that's what I said this time. I just want to go in, just relax, man. I'm good. I know how to fight. You know, I'm not proving it to myself. Like, it's like before, as I said, like, I wanted to prove I could go 12 rounds. With Dylan, I wanted to prove I can fight. Come on, then let's fight in the middle of the ring. You can see me talking to him. With the Charles Martin fight, I wanted to prove that I'm better than that. So everything I've always wanted to prove something to myself. This one, I just want to prove that I'm a good fighter and I can go in there and dismantle the opponent because I'm that good. You know, that's all it is. I know I'm good and I just got to prove it.
We shall see. AJ, thank you very much for speaking to us. Much appreciated. Great to hear from you. Just over a week to go before this man is back at Wembley Stadium defending his world titles against Alexander Povetkin. And as usual, we can't wait.
Thanks very much indeed, Fraser.